So that video of yours,
yeah, that was supposed to be a progression, and this would be the very like quick, short first part, and it was supposed to progress into wingsuit base, and then jumping off the mountain, opening the wing, and flying over the trees, and then getting really close in the valley, like proximity. And I got in a terrible accident training for it. I left Europe, came to LA, and
that's insane.
I hit the ground really fucking hard.
That's insane. What do you call this? This is base jumping, or?
Well, it's just skydiving, but the progression is you skydive on your belly, like learning to crawl, and then you learn how to fly on your back. So then it's reverse gravity, and then you come back to your belly, and then you go to a sit position like the Matrix, and then you learn how to sit. And so this takes like 80 to 100 jumps. There's a progression. So once you learn how to balance sitting up, it's called sit flying, then you can transition to head down. And then you fall the fastest because there's less wind resistance. And so you get up to like 200 miles an hour. Like you create like a burble if you can maintain your posture. It's very yogic, and that takes hundreds of jumps. But in the process, you learn how to land your canopy. You learn how to fly a pattern. So it's very much like learning how to pilot an aircraft. And you track away from the group, which is like that position you see me jumping in, where you put your hands to your side and you fly. You actually get little burbles of lift, and it's like a bird-like experience. So tracking is essential for base jumping, which is the next step. Once you learn all the skydiving fundamentals, then you could jump off of a bridge, a span, like a antenna, or a cliff. Building is, I think, the most dangerous, and survive. But you need to implement all of those skydiving procedures that you learn.
How did this all start for you?
Dude, I was so pissed off sitting in my truck in traffic and thinking about lane splitting because the motorcycles were flying by. Mm-hmm. I was like, fuck, I need to get a motorcycle. And then I saw this car in front of me that had a bumper sticker that said 1-800-SKYDIVE. And so I just pulled out my cell phone and I called 1-800-SKYDIVE.
Simple as that.
It says, to jump out of a plane, press 1. It says that. And then so I pressed 1, and then it connects you to your local drop zone. And they answer the phone, and I was like, I want to skydive. And they're like, sure, great. When can you come in? Like today. They're like trying to get your credit card. And so I gave them my credit card. I came that weekend and I just did the course. I started and I never stopped.
That was what age?
Well, it was 2007. Right before I smoked DMT. So those are intimately connected memories, because when I first smoked DMT, I remember correlating skydiving and being like, this is better than skydiving. So it was like 2007, 2008. I'm 39, so I must have been 22, or I don't know the math.
But were you always a kid that was into crazy
No,
extreme
not at all.
stuff?
Like skateboarding. Yeah, I grew up skateboarding. But that's a big jump from like going downstairs to then jumping.
And how often are you doing jumps like this?
I stopped. I haven't done it and it'll be 10 years next year. Because 10 years this year since I got in that accident. I got like a severe head trauma, bit a hole in my tongue, cracked my jaw. It was like covered in blood.
Tell me about that.
Shattered my ankle. Well, the long story of it, and I'll tell you the short, long story of it, is being in Norway with my friend Alexander Poli, who's passed away, rest in peace. And he got his license when I was getting my license.
I'm afraid to ask, how did he pass away?
He hit a tree. Yeah. And so we were both getting our license at the same time. This is in 2007, 2008. And I caught up with him 9 years later. And I'm in Norway with him. And I had to leave because he was like, come on, let's go. He was always trying to get me to go to parties, fly on jets. He was always like pulling me into this upper class that I could never stay in. I could never rest in his posture. I would always have to like downgrade. So I left Europe because I didn't want to die. And I went to Skydive Taft, which is like down the Grapevine. And it's cheap jumps and cheap boarding. So I was staying there and I was just banging out jumps, trying to rack up my experience to then go back to jump with him and learn how to fly the wingsuit, follow him with the trees. That was like my dream, follow him through the trees.
So Alexander was a serious adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, he's the first guy to fly through a hole in the mountain in the wingsuit. in the Dolomites. So yeah, when I was training back here, I just made a fatal error and I just hit the ground really hard. And I kind of blacked out before it. And I remember the last thing before I blacked out, I've never said this to myself, but I said, game over. And I remember, and then I just blacked out, and then it was fast forward to sirens and red lights and me like telling everybody, no, get away. And I was wrapped in my parachute, and they didn't want to like untangle me because they didn't know if I broke my neck or whatever. And I remember signing an iPad to say I refused to the ambulance ride because I had this idea that I was okay and I was fine. I was just gonna kind of like dust off, and I didn't realize how many bones I broke and had to have reconstructive surgery on my knee and part of my bone. Broke my nose too.
Did that slow you down?
I never jumped again. Yeah. It's just, it's not so much the fear, or at least I still tell myself, I'm still lying to myself that it's not the fear, but I have a lot of other valid excuses of like why I can't. And I think it must be just like unconscious, subconscious fear. Like my body is terrified because it connects the dots of like, if you jump out of a plane, you're going to die or break something or black out again. So,
but how many jumps like that did you do?
Hundreds.
Yeah,
which is not a lot. There's people that like do thousands and thousands and thousands. They jump all day, every day. So by no means am I an expert. I would consider myself intermediate. And I did do a lot of tunnel time. And so every minute in the tunnel, in the wind tunnel, it simulates like a jump. So I have like hours. I have maybe like 20 hours of tunnel time. So the sum total, maybe it would equal to close to maybe like 800 jumps or 1,000, like around there for experience.
And this started when you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
Did you have a career? Did you have any work you were doing?
I was working at a call center, just taking calls on the phone for this company called Four Wheel Parts in Compton. And that was where I was stuck in traffic when I called the number. And we would take calls from all 50 states. We had like 9 distribution centers, and people would call up and, ask about wheels and tires. So we'd sell them like lift kits, exhaust intake, stuff like that.
And then you're doing this kind of stuff on the side.
Yeah. And I wanted to pursue acting too. That was like in my head, that was what I was going to do. It was like trying to be the badass that I wanted to portray on film. Started doing MMA, skydiving. I bought a street bike.
What separated you from like other guys your age that you were doing this kind of stuff?
Well, I think there was a sort of like giving no fucks energy that was cultivated by eating copious amounts of shrooms, because I would always take myself to like this zone where like half of my body would disappear sometimes. Like I would lose the function of my brain that was like centered in space and time, and I would just get lost in this like the creative part. But that's just the story I made up about it. But I was always trying to get somewhere with mushrooms. It seemed like there was a Mario Brothers type of black door that you could press the down button to and then like shift into another dimension. And I always thought that was possible. And it wasn't until I smoked DMT where I feel like I actually broke through that veil. And then I saw this realm of light, and it ultimately is in my mind. And I think it's in everyone's mind. And I think we get like a slow drip that's supposed to last your entire life. And I think now when you do that by unnatural means, what it does is it kind of creates an addict instantly, and it tells your brain like, well, don't produce the DMT anymore because we could just get it by external means. So just smoke the DMT. And I didn't start smoking it like addictively. I only did it a few times, but it was so pronounced and profound that I couldn't stop talking about it, sharing it with my parents, terrified the fuck out of them, because in their mind, they hear methamphetamine. They don't know the difference between dimethyltryptamine. So to them, saying DMT or AIDS, it's like that. What are you doing? It doesn't make any sense to them because there's a lack of knowledge and awareness of that psychoactive compound that's been used for thousands of years in the Amazon.
Do you think your body stopped producing it?
I think it's
temporarily.
I think it's possible that some brain chemistry was dramatically altered. And it forced me to start doing Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, like religiously. I feel like that was critical to my sanity. I would practice at power yoga at Brian's studio above the Radio Shack between 5th and 6th on Santa Monica. That was like my haven. I would do 3 classes with him sometimes. And the power yoga, I feel like really grounded me and kept me centered. And I never had that balance before that experience. I didn't even know that I needed to do that to be grounded. So I think it's a positive thing, but it's a dramatic paradigm shift because you are kind of forced to face yourself in a way that's very uncomfortable and frightening. It's terrifying because you don't see your own self the same.
Have you done DMT or ayahuasca or anything like that since?
Not since the first time in like 07, 08. It was right before I was base jumping in Norway with Alexander Poli. He told me to go meet with a shaman in Peru. So I flew into Lima, and then you take a connecting 2-hour flight to Pucallpa. And then from Pucallpa, you had some dude in a moto picks you up, and then you go on way of Jeep through the fucking Amazon to like some crazy hot spring, and it's like a very culty, and they have all these like, everyone's dressed in white. And I kind of stepped away from it because I was like terrified of this unknown cult, and I was just doing it because my friend told me to do it before he trained with me. He wanted me to be spiritually like cleansed and mentally prepared. So I stepped away and I went to go to connect with the setting. So I went and walked down to the Amazon, and I took my shoes off, and then I went to step in the river, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? It was scalding hot, and I fucking burned my toe. That must have been like 190 degrees. And then I noticed there was steam coming from the whole thing, and I was like, what the fuck? And when I bounced back, I hit a tree, and then a bunch of like flesh-eating maggots fell on my shoulder, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? And they're biting me. And I was like, dude, get this shit off. And then I started going fast, and I went right face to face with this like giant spider like this big. And I just stopped, and I paused, and I was like, dude, this place has an intense energy, the Amazon. And it's not that anyone's...
This was Peru?
Yeah, this is Peru. It's not that anyone's trying to hurt me or kill me, but like the life is like so strong here. I need to like be more fucking calm and careful. And so I kind of carried that presence with me into the ayahuasca ceremony. And before I actually did the ceremony, I intuitively like felt like I was missing out on something because everyone was kind of being like, circled around in this center, like a yoga kind of a den. And so I kind of just followed my intuition, and I walked down this path down like up in the north side of the river, and then walked around to this little hidden hut. And I come up to the hidden hut, and there's some stairs, and there's a door cracked, and I kind of look through the crack, and I see this shaman, and he has a big cigar, and he's going, he's puffing, and he has people massaging his hands and his feet, and he's like, you could tell he's high, and he's like seeing something, and he's like, and he's blowing his smoke, and I'm just looking through a crack. So I got scared, and I went back because I thought maybe they were gonna see me, and then I was like, no one's catching me here. I gotta watch this. What the fuck's this shaman doing? So I looked, and yeah, man, he, I think, had drank the medicine before the ceremony to know how strong the batch was, is what it is that he does to prepare for then giving it all to us. So then I, took that experience. I was like, all right, this is not as spiritual as I was thinking. It's kind of like like a Chapo type of drug dealer that's pushing this DMT juice, and I don't know, whatever. So I just went back to the ceremony, waited. Sure enough, he came like, I don't know, an hour later, gave us all shots, got some more. And I eventually just left the ceremony and went back to my room and was just chilling on my laptop because it didn't hit me as hard as the version that I had smoked. So I was like not impressed by the ayahuasca version of it. But I still had that memory that I had in like 07, 08 because for whatever reason, that was entirely more pronounced and profound in terms of me astral projecting out of my body into this metaphysical realm that seems more real than your life. Even though that this is real and I know you're real and I'm real, that seems like it's more real when you first come out of it because it only lasts like 5 minutes. And it's really interesting because I've heard a lot of other people say this, and I'm not saying it because I heard it. It's just what happens. So it's terrifying to, again, people that aren't in on what the actual experience is, because how do you give someone an experience that's so hard to describe? it kind of breaks the.
Have you tried again since then?
No, I've never done the smokable version. I don't think I need to, man. Honestly.
You're being a square now.
Well, this is the most profound psychedelic trip we could never imagine. This is the gift, and I don't think the goal is to get anywhere other than exactly where you are. And I feel like that took a long time of not doing anything to kind of recalibrate my brain chemistry to start producing maybe the DMT naturally. I'm not sure.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, but I do like to joke around and say that we as a people in the world needs another round of vaccinations, but they need to put DMT in the vaccine. That way everyone has this like mind-blowing, life-transforming, like...
Wouldn't that be interesting if the whole world tried that?
And if it was mandated too, like, no, you got to do this because we got to stop killing each other and being greedy, and we need to start being more connected and grounded. So,
do you get the feeling like that might actually bring a result like that?
I don't really know.
I've never tried it.
I don't really know. I mean, if I were in power, I would do it 100%. I would do it like I would sign an executive order saying there's a new vaccine mandate, and DMT is in the vaccine, and just let the chips fall where they may. Let's see what happens. It'll be a social experiment.
You should run for president next time.
Yeah, I don't think I'll win. I think it's very much. I don't know what the situation is, but the situation just seems very, very. I don't even know it has to be spiritual. That whole ecosystem, there has to be some spiritual component to that. Right? How could there not be, right?
It sounds like a magical place.
So if I'm ever called to do that, then I would love to. But I'm not planning on running for
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone should do anything that they don't want to do. So I probably am not really actually for a vaccine mandate. It's just a joke. But I think that it's a great joke, actually.
So you're a comedian now?
I've been doing stand-up last year. One of my friends convinced me. I've been writing films, and I've been writing serious films, but I never tried to write a comedy. I don't understand why. I guess I just like lived my life as a comedy, and then decided at some point I was going to do stand-up like after I had made films. And I almost felt like you can't do stand-up until you make films. And my friend's like, dude, just shut the fuck up and do stand-up. Just go out on stage and see what happens. And I started going to the LA School of Comedy with Suna Kroonquist and on Westwood in Santa Monica. And she gave me like, I don't know, 10 minutes. And I actually went on a date with Daisy on Valentine's Day last year. And
Daisy, who I've interviewed?
Yeah, Daisy. I took her to Peace Yoga in downtown. We did yoga on the roof with Sherry Ray, and then I took her to Wild Living Foods for lunch after, and she was live streaming the whole time. I didn't know. And I told her the rules of if we're gonna date, or if you're gonna be serious, if you like me or if I like you and I choose to be with you, you can't talk to any other guys, period.
Good luck with that.
And the next rule is you can't think about any other guys. The next rule is you can't touch any other dudes, and no dudes can even touch you, not even your dad. And basically she like turned the camera around, and then she landed it on me, and she says, I don't want to be with anybody but you. I don't want to talk to anybody but you. I'm never going to touch anyone except for you. And it was fucking terrifying, dude. It was terrifying. She landed it on me, and I realized how crazy that possessive thinking really is. And so I said that on stage, and like the entire room laughed. And then I realized that was my first experience. That's the goal, is to get everyone in the room to laugh and share the gift of like interconnectivity.
You proposed that to her as a joke?
I said it on stage, but yeah.
No, when you did it with her privately? It was
both. Yeah, I did it privately as a joke.
Yeah.
And then I put that up on stage. That was my first set.
No, because I mean, you're smart enough to know that would end badly.
Yeah, she says she has a he hive. But yeah, I love the idea of having rules about like, yeah, if we're gonna be together, I want to just basically shut out the entire world. And I've done that in relationships before, and it's, I think maybe some type of genetic programming to ensure that your offspring doesn't die. You know, it's like that possessive energy is then transposed onto your child to then protect and nurture the child. I think that's maybe what it is. But left unmanaged, it's totally unacceptable and fucking terrifying too for people who want to be with one person and only them. It's like, okay, this is terrifying. I'm clear on that now.
Relationships are tricky.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now with that?
Well, the exciting thing that I was telling you about, I just want to preface it with full disclosure that what is happening, what I'm seeing is there's all these visionaries in the organic and regenerative agriculture space. It's a complex word, but the simplified version of people, humans who are in alignment with nature's principles and are supporting the earth that supports all humans. And they're doing that in a way that produces heirloom tomatoes, organic kale, spinach. I don't focus on meat and animal products, dairy products, even though I drink lattes every day. It's something that I just don't feel comfortable with, like slaughterhouses. That's not my wheelhouse. But genetics, mycelium, like mushrooms, plant cells, seeds, those are what I feel comfortable tokenizing or monetizing. And so this new wave of crypto that showcased NFTs and Bitcoin, which is really just an AI bank. That's very simple. It's an artificially intelligent bank powered by the people, without a tangible value other than the immutable ledger. So I thought, why don't we plug that into the farm somehow? Why don't we get all the genetics, native and heirloom seeds, active and suspended cultures? Because there's these things called tissue culture labs that use little petris with nutrient media, and they grow in a very small amount of space, and they're identical clones in a sterile environment. Why don't we back these petri dishes with a coin and then back the coin with the petri dishes? That was the first idea. And I had this in 2018 because I was cloning weed. And I just had this visual of sort of like a DMT fractal of this unfolding cell. That's all it's ever going to do is multiply. And it's not just weed. I mean, it's very easy to cut and clone a weed plant. It's all the genetics. It's just the life that supports all life. And so I obsessed about it. I wrote a business plan. I started going to Bitcoin conferences, talking about this challenge of how do we tokenize genetic material. And there's a huge blind spot with regenerative ag farmers and small scale farmers in the adoption of biotech. They're arms out, no, I don't want biotechnology, right? That's bad. And it's not. There's a lot of beautiful tools and resources like soil testing and again, micropropagation resources that seem complex, but there's no way to connect the farmers with that tech, even if it was handed to them, because they're at what cost, So I used this memory that I have of the Google Glass. I dev'd it in 2010. Remember that little square where you could see little holograms? Mm-hmm. And I got really invested in augmented reality. And I thought, well, if we could tokenize the genetics using these optics that are recording everything your hands are doing and reading Petri dishes with QR codes, there's a way to create an ML AI model, like a hyper intelligent brain that would connect all the farmers together, tell them, hey, don't do this media formulation for this genetic, or do this formula for this genetic in this climate. And if we had sort of a hive mind working to support all the regenerative farmers, then we could ramp up production for organic producers, and then we could increase the demand and supply at the same time, simultaneously feeding more people, Earth Cafe, Cafe Gratitude style foods. It's very expensive. It's expensive to produce. It's expensive to get the organic label. So this is my intention to drive the cost down, make it more accessible. And I got really excited with the Maha movement and this idea that we can make America healthy again. This seems to be a solution for that. And so I found these companies that are doing every little section of soil implements that tell the computer hey, this pH is acidic or these nutrients are missing, that all connect on a ledger, like a smart contract. And I've been piecing everything together and finding out that nothing that I've said is original. All of the ideas that I've intuitively focused on are actually happening. And like I said before, it's not if it's going to happen. The whole hive mind software and tokenization of these genetics, like Larry Fink of BlackRock has publicly stated, like, yeah, we are targeting markets to capture their entire supply chain and then tokenize that so it produces a utility for our coin, like a plug and play solution to like buy out whatever it is. So it's a matter of when it's going to happen and if we're involved. Like that's what it is. So yeah. I not only just want to advocate that whatever it is that I'm sharing with you that is kind of happening organically, I really want to be supportive and help like add some fuel to that ethos and implement that strategy. And I think the missing point or the greatest challenge is to develop that augmented reality software to not only serve as like what I was telling you, an ERP solution and a supply chain data capture, but also a dual purpose educational resource to even put on kids to cause them to connect and see the earth as it once was and to be able to learn how to farm with a headset. That's what I think should happen and hopefully will happen, is to kind of usher in a new form of education and how to teach people how not just to grow the food, but which food to grow, and hopefully increase their awareness of the value of eating like whole foods. That's not the store, but
yeah, that sounds great. You're in the right town for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I went to DC for the inauguration, and I got to see some things that I had never thought I would see, and such a higher like octave of like human functioning that I've like only kind of heard about in like negative conspiracy theories and with negative connotations, like bad terms, bad adjectives, and negative. And my experience wasn't negative, but it was definitely like seeing something that I've never seen and felt before. And it wasn't a specific conversation or a specific person, but it's generational wealth that has this. It's not entitlement. It's like this crystalline kind of like the highest key on the keyboard and then an octave of like infrared kind of vibe where like things just happen, and they kind of just like move through it. And those types of people, I've never seen so many of them in one place, like diplomats, and to be able to have exposure to that and then contrast it with like Hollywood elite. Like, dude, I don't ever want to hear anyone talking shit about A-listers ever again, because these people are entertaining. They're artists. And this group of people, it's hard to connect as an artist, as a comic. It's like, where, I don't know. It's just, there's a gap, And that being said, I'm still being optimistic about like solutions like I was sharing with you that I was really excited to share with you, because I feel like this can not only restore our food economy, it could potentially support like the ecosystem, like globally, like not just adopting biotechnology to support native and heirloom strains in America, but obviously, worldwide and even off planet, like on Mars. And I think we have the tech and the resources to implement a strategy like that. And obviously, like the whole control thing about like who's going to control it, I think it should be decentralized. And for like 15 years, I've been focused on how to get, a food program into the Farm Bill that would really, globalize like cafe gratitude, for example. It doesn't have to be vegan, but just like organic, nutrient-dense food that's accessible. So you have a choice to like go there or Burger King. And, those Yum Foods, they're subsidized. So seeing what's gone down in the hearings the past couple weeks and the way that the Democrats have kind of demonized the people in the hearings and just how disrespectful they were, I don't think that it's necessary to reach out for support through that system. I think we need to strengthen this ecosystem without that support. And that's what I think is autonomy and independence. If we kind of utilize this software and connect with the earth and the farmers that are connected to the earth then it's almost like it's declaration of sovereignty and declaration of independence by transacting on that ledger. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. And the word trustless framework always comes up in like the Bitcoin white paper, or like a decentralized trustless framework. And essentially that's what nature is. It's this decentralized, autonomous, trustless framework, meaning it just does what nature does. It just, if the seed is in the soil, it will grow roots and sprout. Like there's this cosmic energy. And so I feel like that is something that we need to kind of work around. And that was what I was really excited to share with you, because I'm finally seeing all the pieces come together. And I never thought that something like this could be possible, and it is possible. It's like probable. So yeah, that was...
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Whittier.
So you're an LA boy.
Yeah. I mean, it's like borderline Orange County. I went to school at Lucerna, which is like La Habra. And yeah, it's interesting because I never really knew what this culture was, like West LA.
Yeah, because Whittier is the opposite side of town.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's on the border of Orange County. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of has that West LA kind of vibe, you know? But I mean, there's nothing better than the West. This is the best coast for sure. This oxygen-rich ocean air that's just like constant. This is my favorite place in the world. I was born in Hawaii.
Whittier's warmer though.
Well, it's uncomfortable to go to Whittier now. I don't like it.
You don't like it? Why is that?
It's the climate. And for whatever reason, like I think partly because I was born in Oahu on Honolulu, and there's something about the ocean that it's just so comforting. It's not, but then it becomes not just a comfort, it becomes actually a necessity. Like when I'm not near the ocean for an extended period of time, I feel like I'm going crazy. Like I have to get back to the ocean.
And you live Santa Monica or Venice now?
Yeah, Santa Monica.
Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And what were your parents like?
They're like a very fundamentalist Christian, like Christ has a relationship with me and I have a relationship with Christ. And that's always been a challenge for me, because the languaging of like accepting, I feel like it could be more of a choice as opposed to like, you must accept Jesus. And I actually do my best to pray religiously as often as possible to stay grounded and connected to God. And I've even recently prayed to Jesus Christ for forgiveness and to, you know, be the best version of myself that I can be every day without question. That's my goal. Where can I bring light to the darkness? And that whole like conviction part of Christianity of like, listen, man, I just met you, but I got to tell you that you're going to hell if you don't accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. It's just kind of, I don't know if I vibe with that. I don't like that approach. And so for that reason, I've always had challenges with them. But aside from that, I think they're great people. They're still married. My dad has always woken up at like 5 a.m, goes to work, comes back at 5. And he's been on that grind ever since I've known him. So like, you know, at least 39 years. So that's character. You know, he has character. He's committed, and my mom's been with him the whole time. So I think they're good.
It sounds like a good childhood.
Yeah. I had a pool. That was cool. And a garage too. So I always had my own spot. I took over the garage. I put some turntables in there and like made some skateboard ramps in the backyard. So it was a pretty cool spot to grow up. And it was right next to the train tracks too. So we would throw stuff, because we're like on a main street. So we would like throw stuff over the fence when we were like 12 and like hit cars with like rocks and stuff. It was terrible, but it was
kid.
It seemed like it was not a bad thing, because, you know, there's just such a, like, it's almost like throwing a rock into a river, you know, because the cars are always coming by. But I still feel guilty about that actually. But
the young boys will be jerks.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that though. That sucks.
We've all done it. All right, Arthur, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, it was good to talk to you.
You're an interesting cat.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
I wish you all the luck in the world with whatever you do.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
All right, so.
Even though Soft White Underbelly consists of a lot of videos, it's really still a photography project to me. And if you appreciate the photography, sometimes it's difficult to enjoy it when it's scrolling down the screen, which is the only option I had in this horizontal format on YouTube. So last year we came out with the first Soft White Underbelly book, which is a collection of the best portraits from the thousands of interviews I've done. Each portrait in this book is accompanied by an interesting quote from the person's interview.
Oh my God.
There's more.
Wow. These aren't as bad as I thought. I look like a witch.
I will not be reprinting this book when it sells out. So once it's gone for good. You can order yours at softwhiteunderbelly.org. $125, $150 for a signed copy. And thank you for watching.